everyone, welcome to the Science Out East podcast from University of East London. I'm Karl Smith, Head of Research Excellence at the University and your host today. We've got a fantastic episode for you. We're going to be looking at AI in everyday life, but especially we'll be exploring if can you use AI to explore not just your own personality type, but also the personality of your pet. So, to explore this, I'm joined by Mohammad Amirhosseini. He's a senior lecturer in the Department of Computing and Digital Technologies. Mohammad, do you want to say a bit more about yourself and your background?
Hi, Karl. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm Dr Mohammad Hossein Amirhosseini, as you said, a senior lecturer, University of East London. I'm a researcher in artificial intelligence, and my main research interest and expertise is applications of AI and machine learning in different disciplines, especially psychology.
Fantastic. And there's so much for us to dig in here, but let's just take a step back. AI is a huge topic. When and why did you decide to get involved in AI research?
Before becoming an academic, I was working in industry, in IT sector, and I realized that these days the most valuable asset for companies and organizations is data. And the most efficient tool to deal with this valuable asset is AI and machine learning techniques. And during my BSc and MSc courses, I was exposed to different modules related to AI, and I did a couple of different projects. That's why I decided to do my PhD in this field. That's how I entered the world of AI.
Fantastic. But then this is, for me, what's really fascinating. You're doing work in AI, you did work on machine learning, but now you're working in the area of AI and psychology. So how did that come about?
First of all, when I was working on my MSc final project, I decided to work on a psychological method which is called neurolinguistic programming, and I was trying to understand how neurolinguistic programming can facilitate the project management and knowledge management in organizations. And we realized that there is a strong relationship, and this can be a very efficient tool. I wrote my PhD proposal based on the outcome of my MSc dissertation, and I decided to continue this research, and I tried to use artificial intelligence and machine learning to automate different aspects of this psychological approach in order to improve organizational performance. At the same time, I was teaching, and I had some students and some friends who were struggling with some mental health issues. I had students who were diagnosed by ADHD, autism. They were suffering from severe anxiety. They were struggling with submitting their assignments and do their coursework, or doing an exam. Sitting in an exam was a real challenge for them. And also I had some friends that they had some, mental health related issues, and I could see how this is impacting quality of people's life. And I realized that now that I'm working in this field and I'm familiar with very efficient psychological tool, why not expanding my research area and try to work on different aspects, both clinical and non-clinical aspects of psychology. I started different projects, and since I was a child, I had this interest as well because my mom is a psychiatrist, and I was familiar with this field. I always had an interest in this field, and this package of personal experiences with my friends, my students, my family was a significant, motivation for me to enter to this field of research and trying to use AI in psychology. I had a very specific interest in human personality. So I started working on using machine learning to predict human personality type. I did some research on detecting anxiety and depression. I did some research on autism. different symptoms related to ADHD, different tools for personal development, and also coaching and therapy. I've been able to do some collaborations with industrial partners and other higher education institutions, and we were able to publish some impactful papers and do some impactful research.
Fantastic. And this is fascinating because listening to that, I find myself thinking, so could you use AI to assess my personality type? And if you were going to do that, how would you do it?
We have already done it. This was one of my papers I published in, I think, 2018. We started working on predicting human personality type based on different personality profiling tools like MBTI, Big Five, DISC personality profiling. And I was able to develop a bespoke AI model to predict the personality type of human based on MBTI. And that model outperformed all other models which have been developed before in the world. And that's why it got very, significant attention, and other researchers were really interested in this approach. And I tried to continue this research, and through a collaboration with a startup in the UK, we developed a mobile application that as a user, you can have a conversation with the app, and based on this conversational data which is recorded, the app is able to predict your personality type and give you some recommendations or help you to find the most appropriate job based on different characteristics and the personality type which has been identified for you, and help you to reach your goals in your career.
So you're saying here, Mohammad, so if you're going to use your AI tool, your app to assess my personality, you wouldn't get me necessarily to do a survey. So you talk about MBTI, by the way, is what we call Myers-Briggs.
Yeah,
okay?
that's right.
But normally I've done Myers-Briggs before, and I just fill in a survey, and you say, do you like going to parties? You like staying at home? Are you extroverts, introverts? But for your app or your tool, you're saying that what you would do would be a bit different. You would record me speaking. How would it work?
So basically, I'm an expert in natural language processing.
Mm-hmm.
We started using NLP techniques to work on conversational data rather than using traditional approaches and using survey and just simple rule-based algorithms. So by analyzing conversational data, we were able to automatically detect the personality type without any specific questionnaire or survey, and with a very high accuracy. That's the beauty of AI.
Everything we do in the digital world, it leaves us open to potential analysis, investigation, and this is the world we now inhabit, of course. But it's fantastic we have people like you, Mohammad, to help us navigate that world. And your research is no doubt helping us to understand what are the dangers of AI as well as its great strengths. But let's take things closer to home. When we started this program, our producer Maria asked me just to talk about how I started my day, just to get me warmed up on the mic. Now, a lot of people might start the day by walking their dog. Now, I understand that you've been doing some work on AI and understanding the personality types of dogs. Now, I don't think you can interview a dog, so how do you go about using AI to find out what your dog's personality type might be?
Based on some of the previous research that I've done and based on previous publications that I had on predicting personality type of human, I was approached by a startup in the US, and they said, we read your paper on using AI to understand and analyze and predict human personality type. And we are collaborating with another University of Pennsylvania in the US, and they are providing a large scale data set about dogs and behavioral attributes of dogs. Are you interested to explore this area and try to see if what you've done for human can be done for dogs? And I said, yes, why not?
Right.
This is an amazing opportunity. And I was so excited because this was a new field. I was thinking about the impact of this research, because before I start doing a research, I always think about how the outcome of this research can be beneficial for the community, for research community, and for society and people, how we can impact people's life. I had a conversation with a startup about their goal and the final commercial tool that they are trying to develop. And I was amazed by the idea, and I decided to work with them as their academic consultant and leading the AI aspect of the project. The data set that we used in this research was provided by Professor James Serpell from University of Pennsylvania. He's a celebrity in this field. He provided this data set to be used for this research and developing this commercial tool. Another part of this collaboration, the industrial part, is Dogwater Company, who is a startup in Florida. They are trying to use these data and artificial intelligence to develop an efficient tool that can be used by people and especially by dog training organizations to, improve the training outcome and to improve the satisfaction in relationship between human and dog. This wasn't the first time that researchers, were trying to analyze dogs' behavior and trying to understand their personality, but all previous attempts were based on traditional statistical analysis and based on surveys. We decided to use artificial intelligence for the first time. I also realized that all the previous attempts are based on physical attributes: dog gender, their breed, their age, and different physical attributes related to the dog. But we decided to ignore all the physical attributes and just focus on behavioral attributes. And we had more than 100 behavioral features for each dog in that data set, and the data set contains more than 70,000 dogs. So we started using machine learning techniques to analyze these behavioral attributes, and at the end we were able to define and describe 5 distinct personality types for dogs. So this was a significant contribution to knowledge, and we published a paper in Nature Scientific Reports. This research and the outcome, this research received a significant news coverage, international news coverage. We are still continuing this research to work on other aspects related to dogs' personality type.
Great. So here's a question. So you had this big data set from the University of Pennsylvania on different facets of dogs' behavior. What kind of things were the University of Pennsylvania measuring? Were they looking at their tendency to run after a stick when you throw it? How loud they barked? If I want to know a dog's personality type, what data will I need?
That data set that we used is called CBARC data set. And CBARC is a very well-known and efficient tool for analyzing the behavior of the dog. It has been used for years in this field. That dataset was created based on the data which was collected through CBARC questionnaire. And this actually questionnaire is given to the dog owner and is asking the owner to provide some information about dog behavior or dog reactions in different situations. For instance, we want to know if what's the reaction of the dog when there is a chance to chase a bird, for instance, or how is the behavior of the dog when there are other dogs, or there is a cat in the house, or for instance someone is ringing the bell, and these kind of behavioral attributes and reactions in different situations. So instead of focusing on physical aspect, what's the breed of the dog, what's the age of the dog, what's the gender of the dog, we just ignored all of that and just focused on the behavioral attributes. And this was the beauty of this research, because before everyone was talking about, behavior of the dog and possible personality types without specific certainty. And it was just based on, okay, if the dog has got this specific breed, so that's probably the personality. But in this research, because everything is based on behavioral attributes, you may end up with having two dogs with the same breed, but different behaviors, different personality types. And that's the beauty of it, that nobody thought about it before.
But here's a question. So I know with your earlier research, you mentioned how you would record an interview with someone, and a lot of your natural language processing work was used to then determine from a recording, a speech recording, elements of that person's personality. But were you also then looking at how dogs barked and determine partially that at least their personality from their barking characteristics?
Right, obviously they can't talk.
No.
Until now, this research and this identification of personality types was based on their behavioral attributes. But what we are doing now, and what Dog Veta company, startup that I've been working with during the last 2 years, is doing now, is to merge behavioral information and this personality type with some IoT sensor based. So instead of using conversational data, we are creating some jackets that dogs can wear and do some specific activities, and based on sensors we are collecting some physical attributes as well, or using computer vision to monitor their activities in different situations. And then we're going to merge behavioral aspect with that physical IoT based aspect, and use all of this data to come up with a very informed decision and recommendations for improving the outcome of training the dogs. So the main focus, the initial goal that the company is, trying to achieve is dog training organizations, and the company is trying to help them to improve the success rate of the training.
So you if you had a dog, you would put lots of sensors to it. You might attach it to its, I don't know, its head, its shoulders. You measure its heart rate, all kinds of physiological data you'd be collecting from the sensors. You track that dog's movement, behavior, sleep patterns over a day, a week, and then you'll be able to use that information to help determine its personality. Is that correct?
Yeah. This phase of research, we are still working on that, and hasn't been completed yet. But yeah, what you mentioned is correct, because we're going to consider not just behavioral attributes, also the physical data that we are collecting based on sensors.
So look, do you have a dog? And if you do have a dog, have you measured its behavior by this process?
No, I don't have a dog. Dogs are fascinating. They are amazing. And the way that they behave, their bond with human is fascinating. But I'm a cat person.
Yeah. Do you have a cat then?
Yes, we have two Persian cats. They are family cats, actually. Yeah. I realized that most of the researchers who are working in animal behavior analysis and working on dogs and dog personality type, they are cat person. Yeah. And the main reason is that obviously these people are busy people. Academics, researchers are busy people, and we all know that dogs are demanding. You have to take them for a walk on a daily basis, and they also demand you have to look after them. They are like a child. That's why it's not fair if you get a dog and you can't look after it as the dog deserves. So cats are not like that. So it doesn't mean that they are not intelligent enough or they are not in the same, level of the dogs, but they are different in so many different aspects. And the main point is that they are not that much demanding. They are the boss.
Oh, yes.
And we are working for them. So, and they are beautiful.
And so are you looking then to expand your AI personality type assessment research into cats?
This is one of the things that we are considering, but currently we don't have enough data to do the same research on cats. We are still in the phase of data collection. Yeah, that's why we haven't done that for cats yet.
So it sounds like what you need to do is build up a catalogue of data. Yeah, there's so much of interest in your research, but I'm really curious to know, as your research was developing, did you ever have this kind of eureka moment, an epiphany, when you realised either that you'd made a big breakthrough, or you realised this is what you want to do with your life?
As an academic, And as a researcher, the most satisfying thing and the most enjoyable thing for me is to have a positive influence on people's life and having a positive contribution to the research community and positive impact on society. I had an interesting conversation with someone. I was presenting a poster about this research, and that person got very emotional when he looked at the poster. And I asked the reason, and he mentioned that his mom is blind, and she had a guide dog for 10 years, and because of the age, the dog is now retired, and they've been waiting for 3 years to get a new guide dog. But because the company who is training the dogs is trying to find an appropriate dog based on her mom's situation, but the dogs that they've been training haven't been able to successfully graduate, and the outcome of the training wasn't successful. He thought that this research, if we can have an estimation about the dog personality type, this is obviously facilitating this process, and this is the aim of the company that I've been working with. They want to improve the success rate for training the working dogs, including police dogs, guide dogs, trophy dogs, and this is a very huge sector, and lots of money is spent in this specific industry. And I realized this is life-changing for so many people who suffer from anxiety, people who suffer from depression, people who are blind and need a guide dog, people who need a trophy dog, different organizations, police forces, law enforcement organizations who are using dogs because of their specific abilities. And the outcome of this research can be really life-changing and have a very significant impact on lots of people. I also realized during COVID pandemic, lots of people started to adopt a dog from shelters or just buy a pet. After a few weeks, they were returning the dog to the shelters because of behavioral issues. This research can also impact the satisfaction rate about the relationship between dogs and human, right? And in this way, we can make sure that the dog is not suffering, is not having multiple owners and trying to make a bond, and also the dog owner is not suffering. Other aspect is that this is one of the other stages that we're going to work on it in this research. We're going to analyze the relationship between these dogs' personality types that we have defined and human personality type. And for instance, the personality type of the trainer, see if we can find the perfect match. So if the right trainer with the appropriate personality type is training the dog with the most matched personality type, obviously this will significantly boost the training outcome, or it will significantly increase the satisfaction rate between the dog owner and the dog, or between you and your pet.
And listen to this, Mohammed. We think about AI as being something very sterile, very technical, very technological, and yet what I'm hearing here, how it can really enhance our own well-being, our own personal lives, where we've been able to help improve the relationship between human beings and these creatures, dogs, which are so vital to our everyday lives. If you're blind, you probably will be using a blind dog. They use dogs now, of course we use dogs for a long time, in customs to detect if people carrying drugs. They use them in search and rescue teams. Dogs are used, they're not just frivolous animals, they have a vital function to play. But what I'm hearing here, your research is helping us to improve our ability to very harmonious relationships between dogs and human beings. And that compatibility element, just hearing how you can find dogs that are compatible with the trainer, and then the trainers has a better prospects of producing dogs that are compatible with their owner, with the blind person who will be using them. And it's such interesting research. And I just say it's a great privilege to be sitting here with you today and to be a colleague of yours at University of East London. So you're a real credit to the institution. And I also feel we recorded this programme today from the London Borough of Newham, but really we should have done it from the Borough of Barking. But anyway, on that note, thanks so much to Mohammed for joining us. And thank you all for listening to this podcast. This episode was recorded as part of University of East London's Year of Science. Remember to follow us on social media and to keep updated on our forthcoming episodes. Thank you all.